5 minutes after 6 and new this morning, today marks 1 month since the deadly floods that did so much damage in the Naugatuck and Housatonic Valleys.
A statewide government group is now out with a brand new study looking at changing flood patterns and what cities and towns can do to deal with them. News 8's Kent Pierce live for us in Oxford this morning with those details. Good morning, Kent.
Lauren, Keith, good morning to you. A full month later, and Oxford is still dealing with the destruction from that storm. You can see the bridge behind me. It washed away. It has still not been repaired. And the folks who live around here say this is not even considered a flood zone. That's actually one of the big problems identified by this new study done by the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. They hired a firm to study the issue of flooding long before last month's disaster, and they surveyed cities and towns and found most municipalities are woefully unprepared for the kind of flooding that we saw here in Oxford and in Southbury, Seymour, and Naugatuck. The study looked at coastal flooding as well as river and stream flooding, and one thing it recommends is an update in building standards.
Any new structures or structures that are undergoing substantial improvement, so renovations, tear downs, rebuilds, would be required to meet a higher standard in terms of elevating physically the elevation of that structure higher vertically.
The engineer there for Fuss and O'Neill also found the FEMA flood maps that everyone uses to determine flood risk are all terribly out of date. One idea is for the state to do its own flood mapping, and that takes into account development, land use, changing weather patterns, and rising sea levels. Connecticut also needs new standards and guidance for designing roads and culverts to deal with the increased flood risk. And of course, all that costs money. That is the biggest problem identified in this study, is there is not enough municipal funding to make the infrastructure improvements you need to deal with big storms like we are already seeing. Live in Oxford this morning, I'm Kent Pierce. Back to you.